Hello there guys, my name is MrYorkiesWorld, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video, as you can see, we are in the Aerosoft CRJ700 today, on the ground at Leeds Bradford Airport, and this is going to be the first full flight video using this aircraft that I've done on the channel. I am very excited to get into it. I am not perfect when it comes to flying this aircraft, and there will indeed be some mistakes. I'm doing this not as a live commentary, I'm doing the commentary after this footage was actually recorded, but I'm very excited. You can see Gary here is about to drive his baggage cart directly through the aircraft. There we go. Brilliant. Off to an amazing start. So as I said, we're going to be taking the new Aerosoft CRJ700 in Microsoft Flight Simulator from Leeds Bradford, which we are at right now, over to Dublin in Ireland. It is a relatively short flight. It's about an hour and 1 minute according to SimBrief, and our flight level today is just going to be flight level 180, so nothing too major. I decided to go with a blank livery since this is a custom route, so we're just going to call it like a private route that MrYorkiesWorld is going to do. So we're going to jump straight into the cockpit now and switch on the APU. Now I am following a written checklist because I'm not fully familiar with this aircraft just yet. But there's the APU, that's available now. And we should probably go over and set the initial altitude, which in our case is going to be our flight level, which is 180. We don't have any ATC today, so that's fine. We'll just go straight to 180. And over to the EFB then. We can go to performance and change to 0 fuel weight. I'm just going to go and get those details now from the SimBrief plan on my second screen here. So our 0 fuel weight is going to be 27130 in kilograms. And then our fuel, we need to get the fuel as well for the flight. And the fuel is going to be 3089 kilograms. So we can enter that. And I will go ahead and set the payload in the simulator as well. Perfect. So over to the FMC, we can go to the POS init page now and sort out the GPS. So it's similar to a Boeing. So next page, grab a GPS position. Back to the previous page, and then we can just enter it in there. That's as simple as it gets. Nothing too complicated whatsoever with that. So now I will go ahead and get the route, which is going to be EGNM, so Echo Golf November Mike, to EIDW, so Echo India Delta Whiskey. And I'm on the wrong page here. I need to go to... Is it Perth? I don't think it's Perth. I think it's the plan. There we go. So route... I've already set it to automatically sort all the perf information out as well. I've done that in the EFB, so that'll all be imported ready. There's the flight number, there's everything that we need. The next stage would probably be to just check the departure and arrivals, which again, they should automatically be imported in this particular case, because I've set it to do that. And we're going to be using the Nels 3 Whiskey for runway 32 for our departure. And then our arrival, the Bags 2 X-ray, to runway 28 left. So that's automatically been imported. You can set the option, I can't remember what it is, but the EFB gives you an option for that. So next we need to go into VNAV setup just to make sure that the transition altitude is set correctly, which is 6,000. Execute that. And it's all pretty straightforward. If you're used to Boeing aircraft, this shouldn't be that different. It is very similar to how you would program the FMC in a Boeing. So up to the overhead, and I'm going to go ahead and configure the passenger signs now, which I believe we can switch on. No, there we go, that's the wrong way. So switch them on. Passenger signs are on. The APU again is available at the moment to us. Emergency lights are armed. We can switch on the nav light. And then what I will do is just head over to the EFB again. We're going to be using a Flaps 8 takeoff today. I'm going to go ahead and click Set All, which will bring up the takeoff speeds. So you'll get the V1, VR and V2 displayed on the primary flight display. Next up we can go ahead and set the baro. And then we do need to go down and set the trim. So 7.2 Let's just zoom in on the display here. I'm going to set 7.2 on the trim. Wrong way, there we go. 7.1 and 7.2, there we go. Okay, so now on to the windshield heats. We can set them both to low. There we go. And we can nip down to the pedestal and sort out the stabilizer trim, the Mac trim, and the yaw damper as well. So looking outside, we can see that the catering and everything else in the baggage appears to have been loaded, so that's all fine. We can go ahead and close everything up. Everything is loaded on the aircraft.
Captain, the cabin is secure. All passengers are aboard.
I really do like the cabin announcements as well. It's very realistic.
On behalf of the captain and crew, welcome aboard this flight. We hope you enjoy flying with us. Before takeoff, we would like to encourage all passengers to watch our cabin crew display the safety features of the aircraft.
Right, so that was the announcement, and now we need to set the cabin pressure, which is a bit tricky because you've got to turn the knob right at the top there, and it displays on the lower display there. I'm just going to set it to roundabouts what it needs to be, which I think is about 620 or something. Can't remember what it was for this particular video, but we'll set it. I think in the end, I just gave up, and that was it. Yeah, I think that'll do. We might as well go ahead and get the fuel pumps sorted out as well. So the left and right boost pumps. Hydraulics, I'm going to set them to auto. There is a particular way of doing this, and it's not to set them all to auto, I'm sure, but I'm going to do that regardless, just for the sake of this video. Beacon light can come on as well. And I think next up is the flight directors. Now we only need to do one of them. It doesn't matter whether you set it on the left or the right, it will do the same thing on both PFDs. Taking a look outside, we've got no jetway or anything connected. The doors are all closed. Everything's looking fine. I'm going to select pushback now, just a quick Shift P. We're not using Pushback Express. For some reason it's not working on my system. But there we go. We'll start engine 2 first. Oops, there we go. A little bit tricky. In fact, one thing I forgot to do is to get rid of the wheel chocks as well. That would be helpful. There we go. You can sort of start to hear engine 2 spooling up now. And I better go ahead and release the parking brake as well. So we're just going to push straight back, and then we'll stop the pushback in the right place so that we can sort of swing it round onto the taxiway. Looking absolutely gorgeous on the ground here at Leeds Bradford. And I think we'll stop the pushback about there, set the parking brake, and we might as well go ahead and start engine 1 now. Going to be waiting for about 20% until we let the fuel in. I didn't do that with engine 2, but it's good practice to wait. And we can place the thrust lever there now. Loving the cabin announcements. Nice little feature there. And we are looking clear, there's nothing in our way. I'm pretty sure we can get past that little truck there if we do a tight turn to the right. Just waiting for engine 1 to fully spool up and be ready. And then we should see all the remaining warnings disappear there. There we go, they've gone. Looks like the engines have stabilised, or at least are almost stable. Back up to the overhead and we can turn off the APU switches. I'm not sure whether we're going to need anti-ice. We'll leave it off for now just in case. We will need to switch on the probe heats as well. And of course we do need to set the nose wheel steering on, which we've just done there to the right hand side of that EFB. We can set flaps, so again our takeoff flap setting is going to be flap 8. So that's 1 and 8. We can see them being deployed there as well, ever so slightly. It happens very, very quickly, so it's not really noticeable by the time you get out of the cockpit view. So we need to arm the thrust reversers as well. And I'll go ahead and switch on the taxi lights now as well. So with that, we are basically set now for departure. We can go down and just zoom out a little bit, or zoom in on the flight plan. That's how short the flight plan is, you can see. We'll just zoom back in again. And we're going to be departing here to the right, so we're going to make a harsh right turn. Parking brake is released. Throttling up a little bit as we turn to the right to join on to the taxiway. There's the little lorry that I was worried about, but I think we're going to clear it. Should be fine. Perfect, there we go. I've got to say I'm very impressed with the performance of this particular aircraft in the simulator. Not suffering a hell of a lot of stutters compared to the fly-by-wire A320. I've got to say I'm a better pilot in the A320 than I am in the CRJ, but it's literally because it's a new aircraft. I'm still getting used to the controls. And of course, it's just a little bit different. It's similar to a Boeing, but obviously it's a very, very small aircraft compared to a Boeing. So we can sort of expect the handling to be quite a lot different. So without further ado, I will catch up with you guys when we get to runway 32, which is going to be our departure runway. Okay, so we do need to backtrack down the runway in order to get to the threshold. There isn't a taxiway that takes us directly where we need to go. So we're entering a runway. X-Flow auto override, and we can also turn on the landing lights and the strobe lights as well. We should probably leave those taxi lights on, but we're not going to need them considering the fact that we're taking off. So in real life, before entering the runway, you would always check left to right to make sure that there is no traffic coming or no traffic going. But in this case, we don't have any traffic enabled, so apart from ground traffic, so we're okay.
The captain has advised that we are now cleared for takeoff.
So there is a little bit more stutter now that we're actually on the runway. That can be expected. It's not really something that can be resolved entirely, I don't think, at the moment, in the current state of the simulator. I think it is indeed something that we're just going to have to get used to. Absolutely loving the visuals, though. I would very happily sacrifice a little bit of performance. I mean, we're getting like almost 30 FPS at the moment, but I would very happily sacrifice that extra few frames for the fact that it looks absolutely amazing. Okay, so we're swinging it round now, trying to get it into the centre line when we actually turn around. It is pretty easy to control on the ground, it's just not easy to control once it's in the air. There's a lot more input required, such as trim and things like that. It's very, very sensitive to trim settings. So I would call that sort of lined up. Or as lined up as we're going to get, really. Switch on takeoff mode. We're going to set the heading and sync it. We can, of course, start the clock. And I'm advancing the throttles just a little bit, checking everything's stable. Which it seems to be. Trying to get it into toga mode now. It's a little bit difficult on the Thrustmaster HOTAS X. But there we go. Putting some forward pressure on the nose as well. Until 80 knots. So here comes V1 and rotate. If it will rotate, there we go. Still got the issue in the simulator where it bounces off the runway like that. Gear up, positive rate, forgot to say that, there we go, look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. One of the many, many reasons that I love this particular simulator. It's absolutely, it just looks beautiful. The clouds, the ground, the everything. Just trying to follow the flight director, and I'll enable the autopilot in just a few moments. In fact, we'll do that now. Just lessens the load on everything else. So, nav mode and speed. Speed to 250, I'm going to try and set it if I can actually get hold of the knob. There we go. Speed's going to be set to 250 until we get above 10,000. And there we go, look at that. Flaps can come up now. Beautiful, beautiful departure. Lovely, lovely scenery. For those of you worrying about performance and things like that in the simulator, I think it speaks for itself when you see, look at that. When you see how gorgeous things look, it's very easy to cast aside minor performance issues and a little bit of stuttering here and there, especially with all the fixes and workarounds that are currently available. So this is telling us now, we've got a warning that we've got some ice, which we're just going to go ahead and switch on the anti-ice until we get to about 10,000 feet. And then of course we'll be able to turn that off. I'm going to turn the X-Flow or Cross-Flow override off now. Again, following from videos and tutorials that I've seen, as well as the custom-made checklist that I make myself. I'm trying to hide the yoke here, there we go. It's very difficult to control the knobs here. So there's standard. I don't know whether it means it's at standard when it flashes or whether it's at standard when it's solid. It's something that I need to look up. I need to remember what that actually means when it's flashing. You see it's still flashing now, so I'm just going to click it again. I think it's when it's solid, that's standard, I think. But I could be missing something. But overall, I'm happy with that. Very, very nice departure there from runway 32 at Leeds Bradford. Beautiful, beautiful scenery. I think what I'll do now is I will leave you with some cinematic shots of this very short flight over to Dublin. I'm going to go ahead and switch off the landing lights now, and I will catch up with you guys very, very soon. Okay guys, so we've disengaged the autopilot, the gear is down, that's how fast that literally went. And I am visual at the moment on my EFB program, but I'm not quite visual yet with the runway in the simulator. It is starting to come in, I can see where the runway is. Again, it's 28 left that we're going to be landing at. A little bit of pre-warning, I am absolutely terrible when it comes to landing this particular bird. I've only landed it a handful of times. I am beginning to fall in love with it, but at the same time I'm finding it quite difficult to learn because it's so complex. We've not had a complex aircraft such as this available in Microsoft Flight Simulator since the A320, so by fly-by-wire. So you can imagine I am now getting back into taking things a little bit more seriously, and with that comes the fact that not only does this aircraft not have auto throttle, but it requires a hell of a lot more input in terms of trim and things like that, and it's very, very sensitive to trim input, in my opinion. So I am using a custom set of scenery. It's freeware scenery for the city of Dublin, the surrounding areas of Dublin, and then the actual Dublin scenery for the airport is from MK Studios, courtesy of my friends over at Orbex. So at this point in the particular approach, we are full flaps, gear down, 3 greens. We are on manual control. We are no longer under the input of the autopilot. And I'm just trying to fight with a little bit of wind. I think it's about 20 knots or something like that the wind was at the time of this video. Easing back on the throttle a little bit just to try to keep that VREF speed. Runway is visual, or should I say we are visual with the runway now. We have been for quite a while, but it's a little bit more detailed now that we're getting closer up. And I'm just going to try and maintain a nice stable approach on the Pappies.
1,000.
There's 1,000 feet. We're looking okay. Happy so far. We're just getting blown around a little bit. That's the only problem. That's what we need to watch out for, is that wind. And I'm just holding back, trying to maintain the same altitude at the moment, just because we're a little bit low. Tiny bit of stutter there as we came in, followed by a little bit more just as the airport grounds tend to load in, which is not really a problem. I'm not really concerned with that whatsoever. Just going to ease back a little bit more. There's 500 feet. Just to try and maintain 2 reds, 2 whites.
400.
Again, I keep inputting some trim just to try and maintain control. Nice stable approach. A little bit high now.
300.
Back on profile.
Sync rate.
Sync rate? No, it's not. We're fine. Nose up a little bit more. 100 feet.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Touchdown, there we go. That was not the smoothest, but it was okay. The reverser's going. Trying to get that centre line back now. There we go. Get the nose down. Moving on to manual brakes, we can stow the reversers. And we can take this exit to the right. So that sounded like a double announcement happening on top of itself there. Maybe some sort of bug or something, or maybe that's meant to be there, I don't know. But nevertheless, I was pretty happy with that. That was a nice way to end a full flight video. Not a perfect landing, but there we go. I don't think anybody is perfect, and I'm still learning the aircraft, so there we go. I am going to bring it to a stop, just set the parking brake a second, and I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this. The flaps can come in, look at that. Welcome everybody to Dublin. Absolutely amazing aircraft. We can turn off the flight directors and do a little bit of clean up here. We can, of course, switch off the landing lights now and the strobes. If the switches work, that is always a positive. Taxi lights are on. We can start the APU. And as far as everything else goes, I think we've covered most of it, to be honest. We should probably switch off the probe heats as well. And that is about it. So we've already got the gate selected. We know where we're going to be going. I will catch up with you guys when we are over at gate 123 at Dublin. Right, okay, so we're not exactly at the gate just yet, but we can go ahead and switch off the taxi lights so that we don't blind anybody. That is the gate there, just to the right of that other aircraft that's parked at the gate. So it's gate 123, nice and simple for a simple flight. Loving the ground textures, and look at the airport, it looks fantastic. The ground textures are really sharp. Obviously we've got some AI aircraft on the ground. Here it is, gate 123. And let's see if I can't give anybody a sudden shake when I slam the brakes on, trying to park this aircraft. I rely on a trigger that's part of my joystick, so obviously it's not the most accurate way of stopping, but look at that. Absolutely gorgeous as we come in there. Oh, there we go. Parking brake set. Hope everybody had their seatbelts on at that point. And we have arrived, so we can go to aircraft, get the wheel chocks in place. I'm going to open... In fact, no, I'm not going to open the door just yet. What I will do is switch off the thrust reversers and shut down the engines, because we've already got the APU running, which is available to us. This is a little bit tricky as well. There we go. That's engine 1. That's engine 2. There we go. It can be a little bit tricky. And we get the ding-dongs just reminding us that we're switching things off. Passenger signs can come off. And we might as well switch off the anti-ice, which I think was already off anyway, so that's fine. Window heats come off. We can go ahead and switch off the fuel pumps. And I will indeed switch off the beacon lights and the nav lights. The nav lights should probably stay on, but I'm just going to turn them off. And then I'm going to go ahead and open some doors.
Door.
Ladies and gentlemen, the door is open. Please make your way to the exit and please make sure you have all your personal...
So that is it. Once again, everybody, welcome to Dublin Airport. This was a very, very short flight, and I really enjoyed doing it in the new Aerosoft CRJ700. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like to see any other flights in the CRJ, or indeed any other aircraft in the simulator. Thanks very much for watching. I am really enjoying this Dublin scenery. Look at this, it looks absolutely fantastic. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Remember to leave me a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more videos similar to this one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.